All right. Continuing on with the graphing. Hold on, let me just close the door here. Okay. There are two main kind of problems in graphing, and I didn't point this out in the last video. Now's the time to point it out. Last time we started with an equation, and the task, what you had to do was you had to draw the graph. Somebody gives you an equation, and it's your job to draw the graph. And then there's the reverse direction, where somebody gives you the graph, and your task is to determine the equation that goes along with that graph, to actually construct the equation that's determined by that graph. As a general rule, and this is just a relative thing, relative to each other, this is easy, and this is not easy. And those are relative to each other. Now, in the case of a straight line, it's not too bad each direction. But when we do conic sections, we'll talk more about this, and we'll see how easy might mean, yeah, we can do it, and not easy might mean, well, we don't even want to try doing it. But more on that in a month or so. Okay, let's do a problem in this direction. So let's say we're given a graph, and here we go. Dry this board off a little bit here. What does it mean to be given a graph? Well, it means somehow or another you're given enough information that it's unambiguous what the graph is in question. And maybe the most classic way of doing it is to start off with 2 points. So let's say we have the point here. Let's call that 1, 2. And let's say up here we have the point 4, 14. Now, I've chosen those 2 points entirely at random. There's nothing particularly special about them. But at any rate, there's a line that goes down between them. Now, the way I'm drawing this, let's say at first, I don't know whether this line crosses above here. In other words, does it have a y-intercept which is positive? Or does the line cross below? I don't know, so maybe I won't draw that yet because I'm not entirely sure. If I did this on a piece of graph paper, or if I use some graphing software like Desmos, we would know right away because the picture would be probably accurate enough that we could tell. At any rate, for now on, and I know most of you have heard this before, you must have, but if you haven't, okay. Whenever I hear the word line, if I hear the word line, like blah, 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 line, I think y equals mx plus b. No matter what things surround it, like I said, da 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 yada yada yada, line, blah blah blah. When I hear the word line, I immediately think this, and so should you. So y equals mx plus b. So the equation of any line, okay, there's one exception, we'll talk about that. But the equation of any line can be written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope we discussed, or I discussed in the video the other day, and b is the y-intercept. And our task is to figure out the slope and to figure out the y-intercept. So when someone asks you for the equation of a line, your goal, your task, is to find the slope and to find the intercept. So let me just show you how to do that. The slope is the rise over the run. I'm going to show you a ridiculously easy way at first. It's going to seem maybe overly simple, but this is what's going on. Imagine again you are walking from here on up to here. There you are, yes. How far up did you go vertically, and how far over did you go horizontally? Because the how far up, that's the rise, and the how far over, that's the run. So we have a height here of 2 and a height here of 14. Remember the height, the vertical position is given by the y coordinate. It's always by the second coordinate. It's by custom tradition. So what's the rise? Well, if you go from 2 to 14, you rose up 12. So in this case right here, slope, the rise is 12. How far over did we go? Well, we started at a horizontal position of 1, and we wound up at a horizontal position of 4. So if we go from 1 to 4, how far over to the right did we go? Well, 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So the slope of this particular line is 4. And what does that mean? That means I now know that y equals 4x plus b, and all I have to do is find b. What is the connection again between a graph and its equation? Any solution for the equation is a point on the graph. Any point on the graph is a solution for the equation. Any point on the graph is a solution for the equation. Any point on the graph is a solution for the equation. So I can pick either one of those 2 points. Either one. Doesn't matter. It's your choice. And substitute it in this equation. And it must be true. And normally I would pick 1, 2 because the numbers are easier. But just to be annoying, I'll pick this one. You can pick either one. Let me say this again. You can pick either point. You'll get the same answer either way. But let's pick this point. The y coordinate is 14. The x coordinate is 4. So for y, I'll put in 14. And for x, we'll put in 4. That's just a coincidence. Those two are 4. It's nearly coincidental. Times 4 plus b. Let's see, this is 16. Subtract 16 from both sides. And you get b equals -2. Let's wrap it all up. Y equals 4x, because somewhere along the way, there, we said the slope was 4. And now we know that b is -2. That right there, that's the solution. That's our answer. Because the question was, what is the equation determined by this graph? And that is the equation determined by this graph. That's not too bad. Now there's one other, I guess, type of problem, which is going to actually be easier, but hey, I guess no harm in that. And that is, if someone told me 1 point on a line, that's not enough to know what the line is. 1 point doesn't determine the line. But if someone told me a point on the line and they told me the slope, sounds like a weird way to go about it, but nonetheless, it certainly can be done. So let's suppose, here's our XY coordinate system. Someone said this point right here, let's say -2, 3 is on the line, and they just told us that the slope was, I'll do a negative slope for fun here, -5. -5. What's the equation of this line? I mean, I haven't even drawn the line. Now, remember, every whole number has a 1 under it. So what does it mean for the slope to be -5? It means every time you go over 1, you drop down 5. So as you're looking at, the line would be tilted down like this. And it would be rather steep. But let's get the equation. So the equation of any line is y equals mx plus b. We're flat out told what m is. So -5x plus b. This is the only point that I know on the line. So here I don't have any quote-unquote options. So y is 3. That point right there. Y is 3. X is -2. So 10 plus b. And b, subtract 10 from both sides. -7. And again, if I had drawn a better picture, use graph paper or use Desmos, which we will down the road. I don't feel like it's really warranted for straight lines, but we'll be using Desmos to help us out and to help us see things, especially when we get to conic sections. But here, b equals -7. So let's put it all together. Y equals -5x minus 7. In other words, if I draw a better picture, this point right here would be 7 units down below the x-axis. It doesn't really look like it on my picture here, but so this line is actually a lot steeper. If I were to try to make a better drawing, it would look something much more like that. There is a lot of utility in using graph paper, getting some graph paper and making your drawings on graph paper. I think it's advisable. I don't very much myself, I guess because I have a really clear piece of graph paper in my head. The usual response I get or I give when someone student asks, should we have graph paper? My answer is, I don't know, should you? If you feel the need, yes, absolutely use it. Get the graph paper. And then, you know, when you're doing this problem here, it says -2, 3, you could count 2 blocks over, nice 2 crispy blocks over, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a dot there. And knowing the slope is -5, you could go over 1 block to the right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 5 blocks, and then get a ruler and draw a straight line between them. And you'll get a much nicer picture, although you won't get as nice a picture probably as, say, something like Desmos or any graphing software, but you'll get a much nicer picture than we got here. Okay, so I want to recap what's hint for the exam, very important to know, and that is, because there'll definitely be questions like this. Given an equation, so I give you an equation, your task is to graph the line. And like I said in the last video, showed in the last video, you want to make sure that you show the x and the y intercepts. So given the equation of a line, produce the graph of the line. And given the graph, like the 2 examples we just did, you produce the equation. So you want to make sure that you can go in both directions. Okay. All right, so that's it for this video. Nice short video.